Already told you about serial killers who have the more admirers, women killers, or even the best serial killer series. We decided today to focus on the creepiest in America, because there has been a bunch of them out there. Number 10, H.H. Holmes, the Bet of Chicago. He is the first and longest-serving serial killer in U.S. history, the first on record, at least, and has been credited with between 20 and 200 victims. So yes, there is a discrepancy between the two numbers, but the sources of the time make it a bit difficult to get an exact estimate. Already known for various frauds as a medical student, his serial killer activity is said to have started in earnest in 1885 when he moved to Chicago. He had a 3-story building built, which he organized as a real horror castle. Traps, secret rooms, torture rooms, hidden entrances and labyrinthine corridors. The place became a hotel in which Holmes killed and tortured customers until they got rid of the bodies in the cellar. He was finally arrested in 1894 and reportedly confessed to nearly 27 murders before being hanged. The problem is that by cross-checking the number of local disappearances at the time, it is believed that the real number could go up to 200. Holmes notably inspired the film Psychosis of Hitchcock and Season 4 of American Horror Story on the hotel, You See the Board. Number 9, David Berkowitz, Sam's son. Between 1976 and 1977, David Berkowitz killed 6 people in New York City, creating a wave of panic and a consequent manhunt. Berkowitz almost randomly killed groups of 2 people by shooting at them, couples in cars or walking in the streets. It was because he used the same weapon for every murder that the police tracked him down. Once arrested, Berkowitz said it was his neighbor who ordered the murders by using his dog to dialogue with him, a dog allegedly possessed by a demon. It was after his trial that he finally admitted that the whole thing was bullshit, but he was nonetheless an impulsive and creepy killer and also an active arsonist. He confessed to nearly 1,500 arson attacks. He is still in prison today, and his killer name, which was given to him because his name was even like that in a letter, was given to an American law which obliges the proceeds from the sale of products related to a serial killer to be donated to the families of the victims, to an American state, or to associations, rather than to the killer itself. Number 8, David Parker Ray, the Toy Box Killer. While doubts remain about the number of Parker Ray victims, estimates reach up to 60 women killed. He used a truck with a trailer he called his toy box in which tortures were placed to commit his crimes, which will give his nickname. Kidnappings, rapes, forcible confinement, torture, murders. Parker Ray sometimes acted with his wife to commit his crimes and got rid of his victims, only women, by killing or drugging them to erase their memories. The abuse he endured for his victims was as varied as it was horrible. He used a significant number of instruments of torture: blades, shears, electric generator, chains and pulleys, syringes, saws, retractors. He kept his victims for several months before getting rid of it. David Parker Ray was not always alone. He brought in his wife, but also friends whom he invited to rape his victims when they were immobilized. His dogs also participated in abuse and rape. Number 7, Richard Trenton Chase, the Vampire of Sacramento. Why we called Trenton Chase the Vampire? I will not keep the mystery longer. He drank the blood of his victims and also ate certain parts of it. As a teenager, he presented the 3 signs of the McDonald Triad, which is a means of preventing the development of a personality that could become violent: inerrancy, cruelty to animals and arsonism. While on heavy use of hallucinogenic drugs, Trenton Chase began killing and devouring animals because he believed it would prevent his heart from shrinking. He later began to kill humans, devour and rape the corpses of his victims and drink their blood, pushing the limits of horror to each murder. Number 6, John Wayne Gacy, the Killer Clown. He's a bit responsible for the very creepy side that clowns have been given over time, and he inspired the character of Pennywise in Stephen King's novel That. Wayne Gacy disguised himself as a clown to kidnap children and young teenagers. There are nearly 33 victims, all boys, whom he began to attract by offering them odd jobs. He mostly kills his employees, which will bring the police back to him. After torturing and raping his victims, he kills them and continues to rape them before burying them on his property. It is the smells that will alert neighbors and police officers when they get home. He was arrested in 1978 and executed in 1994. Number 5, Edmund Kemper, the Ogre of Santa Cruz. The imposing Edmund Ed Kemper, 2.06 m and 136 kilograms, was made even more famous worldwide after the Mindhunter series. His first crime was the murder of his grandparents when he was not yet 16 years old. He then focuses on hitchhikers whom he kills before raping and, on occasions, engaging in cannibalism. One of his latest crimes is the murder of his mother, who he beheads and uses as a dart target, and is believed to have used the head for sex. Extremely intelligent, courteous, cultivated and pleasant, Kemper has been extensively studied by a large number of FBI interviews aimed at understanding his psychology. He is currently still in prison where he conducts reading sessions for blind prisoners, and is one of the sources of inspiration for the character Hannibal Lecter. Number 4, Rodney Alcala, the dating game killer. If it is certain that Alcala did commit 9 murders, the number of victims could be much higher and reach up to 100. With a high IQ, Alcala used his intelligence to deceive his victims, women and girls, rape and kill them while torturing them. He was unhealthy in cruelty in making them hope they were going to get out, strangled them until they passed out, and then killed them when they came back to them. He trusted his victims by playing with his charm and pretended to be a photographer, which could justify the lack of distrust of his future victims to follow him. His nickname comes from the fact that he participated in an American TV dating show in the 70s. He was finally arrested in 1979. Number 3, Tommy Lynn Sells. Lynn Sells' childhood is a succession of misfortunes. He catches meningitis with his twin sister before being 2 years old, and his sister dies, what his mother violently reproaches him for by abandoning him, and by writing his first name on his sister's tombstone among other things. He grew up with an aunt and at the age of 8 is approaching a man much older than one suspects to be a predator who allegedly abused him. Sells began killing at the age of 15 by attacking a single mother from whom he left home after also murdering his 4-year-old child. He rapes and kills his victims whose age varies between 9 and 30 years. By his own admission, he allegedly murdered nearly 70 people, still staying on the move and traveling from city to city. It was an 11-year-old girl who survived who successfully identified him, and led to his arrest in 1999. Number 2, Ed Gein, the Plainfield Ghoul. After his mother died when he was 39, Ed Gein tried to make incantations on his grave to bring her back. He is alone for the first time in his life, and that is when he begins to dig up other corpses to recover their skins. Obsessed with his mother, he is the second source of inspiration for the character of Norman Bates in Psychosis. He is believed to have committed his first murder in 1954, but it was only after the disappearance of a second woman from the area in 1957 that the police went to his farm thanks to the report of a witness. The agents find the 2 corpses at his home, but also flight human skins during the exhumations that Gein harvested. He made many objects with the skins: lampshades, sheets, curtains, but also clothes like gloves and a jacket. His goal, he said, was to make his mother with the parts of the corpses. Number 1, Dean Corll, the Candy Man. The myth of the predator who gives candy could come from him, knowing that in addition to using this technique to attract his victims, only children, he owned a candy factory at a time in his life. Between 1970 and 1973, Corll killed nearly 28 young boys whom he also tortured and raped, often accompanied by 2 adolescent accomplices, one of whom eventually shot him and touched him fatally. His case was called the Houston Mass Murders, as the number of victims is so striking. Most of the children were friends of his 2 accomplices, which put them in confidence. Following an argument, one of the 2 teenagers shot and killed him, which led the police to put a name on the culprits and stop the killing.